There are a lot of books out there that claim to teach you how to be an expert artist, and I mean, we all have read those how to draw manga and anime books in our childhood, and I am not knocking those. But there are four books in my life that I have found useful to my art making process somehow, and I'm just going to share them with you, and maybe you like them, and I hope they may help you somehow. Number one, this is the most recent one that I got, and it has been the most important, actually, because all the other books on this list are irrelevant if you cannot take care of your health as an artist. And this book is a beautifully illustrated book that will teach you how to do that. It will teach you how to draw for a lifetime and not just for 4 years until you burn out and your wrist is dead. So I highly recommend it. It is called Draw Stronger, Self-Care for Cartoonists and Visual Artists, and it is by Kriota Willberg, if I pronounce that correctly. And I think it has helped me so much. It's really practical, upfront tips. It has concrete exercises. It has medical explanations of why certain things will hurt and why certain things are bad for you. And it has helped me save my posture and my wrist and countless parts of my life. And so specifically for animation, I have found this to be a really useful way to explain all the basics. This will give you the toolbox to learn how to animate basically anything. It breaks down what the basics of every motion are and how you can think of poses in your head to connect into a fluid motion. It gets really into the nitty-gritty of the animation process. One page that has really stuck with me is talking about one of like Disney's old classic animators, Milt Kahl, I think. And so the writer of this book, Richard Williams, when he was really young, he was talking to Milt Kahl about like whether he listened to music while he was drawing. And Milt Kahl was like, "You fool, I'm too stupid to listen to music and to animate at the same time." And I just thought that was such a good approach in terms of I tend to have a habit of listening to music and podcasts while I draw. And while for certain stages of the process it's okay, for the most part you're gonna have more headspace if you work in silence. Or at least that's what I found for myself. I know that it can be different for different people. And so I think this is just a good textbook, essentially, for learning animation on your own. After that, there is the book Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. I know I sound like a fake fan because I don't actually have a copy of the book, but that book really changed everything about how I thought about comics, what I thought about the possibilities of comics. Understanding Comics was a book essentially published ahead of its time, before comics had all of these like independent graphic novels coming out, when comics was just a superhero, monthly issue kind of deal. And Scott McCloud just really challenged a lot of those perspectives and said that comics is a unique medium that can tell so many different kinds of stories. It can do nonfiction, it can do any genre. And he also talks about the basic elements that go into making a comic. And so if you are interested in making comics, I think it's a must read. And it will help you expand what you think a comic is, which I think is a good aspect of any book that you read. And finally, a book that I think is useful for every visual artist, and it is Drawn to Life by Walt Stanchfield, and it is, I don't know, it's essentially a book about how you think about your drawing. And I think this kind of book is a lot more useful than any book that tells you, draw 2 circles and connect them together to make a panda. If you are able to reframe how you think about your drawings, that will help you improve more than any step-by-step guide. And so this book has given me loads of invaluable advice about how to loosen up, how to capture a person's gesture, how to push people's poses. And while definitely not all of the advice in this book applies to everyone. I think it's useful to read just to at least gain this new perspective, and maybe you will like his approach to drawing. And also, the way the book is written is so friendly. It feels almost like a warm hug from an old man. And so that is why I really like it. I just have the first volume. I've heard that there are more. I do not actually own them, or I haven't read them, but I think there is so much just in this first volume that I don't know how much more you would need. Those are the books I have to offer and share. There are loads of other awesome books out there, for sure. And also, I just encourage you to think of all of literature, essentially, as a useful book in terms of learning how to tell a good story. But these are books about the actual craft of drawing that I have found useful in my life anyway. And if you have any books that you really like, please leave a comment below. I'm always excited and happy to read another book.